Hello, hello. Welcome, everyone. My name's Mayan, and welcome to the Midweek Reboot. I'm going to give it a minute or two for people to join in. And if you're new here, please drop it into the chats. Where are you joining us from tonight? And tonight we're doing something different. We're not using slides, we're not talking about frameworks, but we're going to have a real discussion on the mid-year and do a mid-year review and just have a real discussion about where we're at the moment. And we're having a full hour. I'm going to shoot various questions to you, so please drop it into the chats when I ask you a question. Let it be interactive. And also, what I suggest you do is, if we're doing this mid-year review, then truly reflect on the questions that I put forward. And if you're running on empty, well, this live is for you. So before we start, and before we get into anything meaty, how are you actually doing right now? Drop it into the chats. Not the answer that you'll give to a manager, or we always tend to say, if somebody asks you the question, how are you doing? The response is, I'm fine. I'm asking you, how are you really doing at the moment? What's that real feeling that's going through at this point of the year for you? Drop it into the chats. How are you feeling? Hi, Yesh. Welcome to the live. Lovely to have you. Yesh says, tired. I need a holiday. And this is just June, Yesh. So you've got another couple of months to go before we hit the real holiday. So it's timely that we have this discussion now. If there's any other responses, please put it into the chat. And what I'm finding as well is tired is the word that many people are using. Also, they use the word exhausted. I'm feeling exhausted. And I go back to my point that it's only the mid-year. It's only June. Hi, Kelisha, welcome. Yeah, Kelisha says exhausted, and she's got some emoticons over there. And that's how people are feeling. You're exhausted, you're tired, you don't feel at your best, you're trying to catch your breath. And that's what the feeling that I had earlier in this week as well, just trying to catch my breath. It's one thing after the other. And before you know it as well, it's one day after the other. And we get into the weekends just to repeat that the next week as well. So last week, something happened to me that inspired this live. I worked until 4 o'clock in the morning, and I worked the entire night until 4 o'clock trying to get a deliverable out. I needed to make the deadline, so it meant me working overnight. And I woke up at 6:30, so it was 2.5 hours of sleep. And that's 6:30 because I needed to get my the food ready for my dog who takes insulin around that time as well. So just 2.5 hours of sleep. I felt exhausted, and the day after during that day I felt really depleted, where I couldn't really think properly. And I thought, if I'm going through this, how many other individuals are also going through this? It's middle of the year, so what I'm feeling is not exceptional. Many people are pushing through one deliverable after the other. They're pushing through targets, and especially now at this part of the year, we're we finished first half of the year, if we didn't do well in a company or in our organization, we're pushing for the other half. We're pushing harder to hit those numbers, those targets, the deadlines, the bottom line. And there's no, it's relentless. And therefore, we're feeling the way we're feeling. So that inspired this live topic as well, and I wanted us to have a real discussion on how, what can we do differently? How can we set ourselves up for success as we close out the year? Hello, Viloshni, welcome. And Loshni says she feels the same as Yesh, which is tired. Irrespective of what industry you're in, what you're doing, it seems that life is getting faster, and we need, what we're trying to do is just to keep up, and our body feels it, our mind feels it. There's so much that we're going through. So I mentioned to you, it's going to be interactive. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions because as we go through it as well, I'd like you to reflect on yourself. Don't just put an answer for the sake of putting an answer in the chat. I want you to really reflect and then put your answer in as well. So my next question is there something you told yourself in January that you now know was not realistic? And I'm going to pause as I ask these questions. Is there something that you told yourself in January that you know was not realistic? And you know, when January, you can put your answers into the chat, and I'll speak as the answers come through. I'll pick it up as it comes through. But in January, we set all these big, audacious goals for ourselves. We feel as if we're going to conquer the world. And yes, it's best intentions, but sometimes it's unrealistic goals that we set for ourselves. So, what you might have said to yourself in January, that's not realistic any longer. Kelisha says, yes, yes, looking back at it now, I feel like I said a very I feel I set a very unrealistic goal for myself that doesn't really look achievable 6 months into it. So Kelisha says she set a goal that was unrealistic for herself that doesn't really look achievable 6 months into it. And you need to stop and reflect. If that was a big, audacious goal, then maybe it's about looking at it through realistic lens. What is it that you can achieve? And how much energy would it take? So look at it through realistic lenses. Yesh says lose weight. That's one of the goals that she put for herself at the beginning of the year. And I can relate to that. When you're stressed, you want to eat more. And it's a vicious cycle. And come June, you're stuck in a rut and you feel bad about it because you put it for as a goal. So instead of losing weight, how about reframing that into, let me try and be healthy, as opposed to just losing weight? Because if you try and be healthy, it will set in motion it will set in motion more achievable ways of living, more achievable goals, as opposed to be fixated on a number. Now you are looking at healthy ways of living. So this is the reason why June feels harder than December. with December, you have that permission to feel exhausted because you know there's a holiday coming. The year is done. You're finished with the year, and it's a break that you're looking forward to. There's a break on the other side, so you know you have that permission to feel exhausted. And people expect to be tired in December, but with June, that exhaustion is invisible. You're supposed to still be going. There's no holiday. Most of our public holidays, if you're in South Africa, most of our public holidays are done with. That's in the first half of the year. Now we're going into the drought period where there's a few holidays that's coming up. So how are you going to reset and position yourself so that you don't get burnt out in October, November, because already you're saying you're exhausted, you're tired. And that's why it makes June a particularly difficult period, because we have no holidays to allow ourselves to reset. And that actually makes it dangerous. And I've seen this over the 30 years in change and transformation, working in corporates. People are pushing, as I said, they're pushing deadlines, timelines, they're pushing for targets. We have to get to a certain target each month. If we had a bad month last month, we're pushing even harder this month. The pressure is on, and we're wanting projects to be done. When you finish with one project, you're starting with another project. Don't you feel tired as well when you hear me speaking like this? Because you're pushing so hard, it's relentless. And also, what happens with June is the first half, if it's a bad half year, the second half is going to be even worse. My question to you is, what does your version of invisible exhaustion look like? What are the signs you see in yourself that you do not show anyone else? So what's that form of invisible exhaustion? What form, what shape does it take? Yesh says tired, memory problems, can't tackle tasks as well as you usually do, mood issues. Kelisha says, I start binge eating. Thank you for those responses. And yes, it's about recognizing that invisible exhaustion. It converts to something, and that tiredness, you're not able to think properly, you're not able to concentrate. That the memory fog, the memory goes, and the memory goes, you can't find your words, and you can't think properly. And eating, if sometimes that's a way of us comforting ourselves when this invisible exhaustion takes place. What's the other thing that will comfort you? Would be the binge eating. I too can relate to that because I am a comfort eater as well. There's a difference between finishing and versus finishing strong. And I want to make that distinction. And that really matters more than your goal review. There is finishing, and then there's finishing strong. Finishing is arriving in December, having spent everything, all your energy, you're depleted. Yes, the work got done, but at what cost? You kept your commitments, but at what cost? There's nothing left to you in you. You feel hollowed out. You've given everything. Now that's finishing the year. But when we talk about finishing strong, it's arriving in December with something still in the tank. It's not because you worked less, you still met your deadlines, your deliverables, your commitments, what your responsibilities, whatever was expected of you, you still met it. But when you're finishing strong and you make the intention to finish strong, and that's what we're striving for today, is to set ourselves up to finish strong and not just finish. You're more deliberate when you're finishing strong about what you spent yourself, your time, what did you put your energy into. You're much more deliberate about that. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So we don't want to just finish and be dead at the end of the year where we feel totally burnt out. We want to finish strong where we still have something left in our tank. My question to you is, and honestly, are you currently on track to finish or to finish strong? Knowing those distinctions between finishing and finishing strong, are you on track to finish or to finish strong? Kelisha says she's on track to finish. So, and Yesh says not even the finish line, let alone strong. So that says a lot. We're on track to just finish. And what that is showing us is that if we continue on the track that we're currently at, then we know where we're going to be come November, December. And what we're striving for is not just to get the year done. We want to be whole when we finish this year. My next question to you, and give this some thought. What would need to change between now and December for you to actually land well? If we want to finish strong instead of just finish, what would need to change between now and December for yourselves? You can drop it into the chats. Kelisha says, if I can start getting some positive outcomes, I definitely feel more motivated. So when you say you want to start getting some positive outcomes, that sounds it's very big. What is positive outcomes? You need to be specific as well in terms of if you want to change between now and December, and you say you want to start getting positive outcomes, break down what those positive outcomes are and make it much more tangible, real for yourselves, as real for yourself in terms of those positive outcomes. Yesh says, I'd have to have a plan of action and then actually stick to it. Here again. So my question was, what would need to change between now and December for you to actually land well. So, Yesh, when you talk about you need a plan of action, remember those goals we set in January that we still feel bad about now because we haven't achieved it? When you're setting that plan of action, my guidance will be is let it be a realistic plan. Don't have put everything in it. Unrealistic goals, unrealistic items that sounds good, but it's not achievable. So instead of saying, I'll take the afternoon off once a week, or I will have 1 day a week for myself, that sounds unrealistic. How about smaller things that you can put into play? I'll give myself 1 hour a day just for myself to reset. So instead of saying I'll give myself a day a week, because your schedule is hectic, that 1 day a week for yourself might not be achievable. I'm using just an example, but 1 hour or 30 minutes a day, or 30 minutes every 2 days, or 30 minutes a week, that might be more achievable. And what I find as well is when we talk about plans, when we talk about goals, we list it and we have good intentions when we put it down. But if we don't achieve it, we really feel bad about ourselves, as if we don't get things right. We don't, if we put things down, we don't stay true to it. And it makes you feel even worse about yourself. So be careful when you say you want positive outcomes, or if you want to put a plan of action, make it so that you set yourself up for success. It can be and I use the example so that you can see how you determine what you put in place, so that you change now, so that you don't just finish in December, but you finish strong. There's three reset moves that I will put forward to you, and see how you can put this into play in your life, considering where we are at the moment. The first move is audit your energy, not your calendar, but your energy. So you stop asking, where did my time go to? You must instead ask, where is my energy going to? Because it's about conserving your energy. And where your energy went to, you must then ask, was it worth the cost? So for 3 days this week, note one thing that cost you more than it returned. It cost you more in energy than it delivered. Look at where are your energy drains. And that's where you need to perhaps put things right, so that it takes less of your energy. My question to you is, and you can drop it into the chat, what is draining your energy the most right now? And is it even yours to carry? Is it something you're doing that's taking your energy, but it wasn't even yours to carry? I'd be interested to know what's taking your energy right now. Yesh says work, other people's emergencies. And their emergencies should not become your emergencies. Kelisha says life. Yeah. And it's good to identify again what within your life is draining your energy. And is it yours to carry at the moment? When last did you do something that actually gave you energy back? Not just rest, but something that genuinely refilled you. When last did you do that? And what did you do that gave you back energy? And resting is not a way of just giving energy back. How do you refill your tanks? Yesh says outings that my doggy takes me on. That's great. Outings that your doggy takes you on. That's really good. And kudos to your doggy for taking you on those outings, because we don't usually carve out time for ourselves to replenish our energy. If our car needs fuel, we go to the petrol station and get the tank filled up. How are you filling your tank? Kelisha says, this one is easy. Could say block of time every week for a crafting session, and I feel like that restores my energy. I actually look forward to those sessions. And that's because you're not just obsessing over what you need to do. It's taking your mind away from whatever problems you might have, whatever responsibilities you might have, whatever worries you might have. So therefore, crafting and doing something outside of what you normally do, that's a great way of replenishing yourself. So think about this. When you're running low, you must think about, how am I going to refill my tank? Then there's move number two, which is name what you are absorbing. Every overloaded professional is carrying something that is not theirs. It might be a problem, a person, a responsibility that landed without a formal handover. Yesh says other people's emergencies at work. That's something you are absorbing that's not really yours. Now, for this week, you're going to just name it. And unnamed loads are the heaviest ones. So you need to be mindful of those unnamed loads. What are you actually carrying that wasn't yours? What are you, specifically, what are you carrying right now that you did not officially sign up for, that just quietly became yours? Is there something that you took on at the moment or recently that's not, that you didn't officially sign up for, but it quietly became yours? And you can put one or two words into the chat as to what are those things that you carry unofficially. Thanks, Yesh. Yesh says correcting others' mess ups when they happen. And that quietly becomes your responsibility. And you know what? They would also know that you're going to catch them, because if you don't call them out on it, it means that they become used to just sending you whatever without actually applying themselves to it. So that's something you need to look at, because it's taking more of your energy, whereas the individual who was supposed to do it is not doing it, and you're absorbing their inefficiencies. And also, you need to ask yourself the question, are you absorbing it because it's easier for you to do it than to have the conversation that you need to have for them to stop doing it? So, what's the reason for you continuously absorbing it? And to what cost to yourself if this continues happening? Because what we're trying to do over here is finish strong. Finish strong means we need to conserve our energy. You need to find ways to conserve your energy. Then there's move three, which is protecting one block of thinking time. 1 hour this week where you are not available, you're not producing, you're not in a meeting, you're just thinking, just carve out thinking time for yourself about the second half. How about what you actually want from it, not for a deliverable, but for yourself. So carve out that 1 hour this week of what exactly. Yesh spoke about putting a plan in place. So if you're putting a plan in place, think about what exactly do you want from the second half. And my advice, as I said as well, be practical about it. Don't try to go to Mars. Try and see how you can achieve these things in the next couple of months to ensure that you conserve energy. So start thinking about the second half and be deliberate about it. And if you can't carve out 1 hour just to do this thinking, this year is data. It's providing you with information that the system itself is depleted. Now you need to look at the system. One question for you. Could you protect 1 hour for yourself this week, or does that even feel out of reach for you? Can you commit to 1 hour this week, looking at how you're going to change things for the next couple of months so that we finish strong? If anything, I want you to take out of this live, and you can put it in the chat as well. Could you protect 1 hour for yourself this week and put that realistic plan down? And the word that I want you to the take out of this live is finishing strong. That's how what we're aiming to do by the end of the year. Yesh says she could. So give that to yourself. That's a gift to yourself. 1 hour of thinking time. And Kelisha says she can definitely do that as well. So give yourself the gift of that 1 hour. If you're feeling depleted, if you feel like life is too much, work is too much, you're tired, you're exhausted, then you can start putting things in place. We need to be the drivers of our own lives. So if you're the driver of your life, you determine and dictate how you want your life to be. There's three moves that I spoke about. Audit, move one, audit your energy, not your just your calendar. Move two is name what you are absorbing. And move three is protect one block of thinking time. Which one of those moves are you going to commit to this week that you can actually do? Move one, which is audit your energy. Move two, which is, excuse me, move two, which is name what you are absorbing. And move three, protect one block of thinking time. Which move could you actually commit to before next Wednesday? Kelisha says, move three. And Yesh says, audit my energy. And move three is protect one block of thinking time. And Yesh says she's going to audit her energy. And I ask you, please keep to this. Give yourself that gift of looking at it, at your life. Now, what the second half needs to look like? What are we going to be intentional about? Last year, I was facilitating a session with a group of professionals, and it was around November, and I asked them, put down one word as to how you are feeling. And the word that came up is survive. Not thriving, not proud, but they just wanted to survive. It was October, November, and they wanted to survive and make it to December. This was last year. This year, I want us to be intentional about moving from survive to something different. We all need that. We deserve that. So you don't need to have a perfectly laid down plan, but we need to be intentional. How do we want to finish this year? And I wouldn't want us to say this year as well, we just want to survive. How can you still be whole? How can we still be human, present, and still yourself and finish this year strong? So let's talk about the second half of the year. How are we going to do things differently? We're not going to talk about goals. We're going to talk about how we're feeling, because the goals shows you a report card that we might not have done so well on. We set goals for ourselves for mid-year, we didn't receive it, so we feel really poorly because we got a bad report card. I don't want us to fixate on goals. I want us to look at how are we going to end this year from a feelings perspective, from an energy perspective, because when you got more energy you can do more things, then it allows you to get more of your goals done. But if you have your energy is depleted, you can't think, you got brain fog, memory issues, you can't wake up, you're at work but not really there, or even if you're doing your side hustle and you can't concentrate, then we're not giving the best of ourselves. We're not living the best life that we can live. So, therefore, I'm concentrating on energy. If we can build the energy component, then we can knock off those goals. So, your intention one, where does your best energy go? So, what this means is in the second half, you decide in advance what is going to get your attention, your sharpest thinking, what is going to get that part of you. And you protect that time like a commitment you cannot cancel. So, identify where your best energy goes. And the second half, we're going to identify in advance what we're spending that energy on. I'm not sure about you, but a lot of us give our best hours to whoever asks first, that first phone call, that first email, the first emergency. And that's where our best energy goes. Even attending to our emails, our inbox, that's our energy going. For example, your calendar is full by 9 a.m. You've got 3 meetings before lunch. You've got a whole host of unread messages. Someone's waiting for a response from you. There's missed calls. There's on Teams. There's messages on Teams. So there's a whole lot of things that's coming at you. By the time you get to thinking, the writing, the leading, you are running on really low and your tank is already empty at the end of the day. So, where are you going to give your energy to, your best energy? And you need to identify that and you need to protect that. So decide what gets your best hours and protect it and protect that like a meeting you can't cancel. My question to you is, what's the one piece of work that really matters for the second half? The thing that would actually move you forward if you got it right. What's that one piece of work that really matters for the second half? Is there something that really matters to you for the second half that will actually move things forward? And that's okay. If you still thinking of it, you can drop it into the chat. I'm going to go into the second intention. It's okay. Let me take the response here. And Yesh says she can definitely guard her time better. That's so it's important to say it to look at guarding yourself your time properly, but and better. But what does it mean? What do you have to remove to guard your time properly? Where are you giving your best energy to that you should not be giving it to because it's depleting you? So what I would do is, push you a little further to think a little bit more of where is your best energy going, and if that's depleting you, what do you need to do differently? Intention two is what you will not absorb. So in the second half, you name one thing, one responsibility, one person, one pattern that you will stop absorbing. And that's where this comes in, Yesh. If you want to guard your time, what is that one thing, the responsibility, the person, the pattern that you will stop absorbing? So you mentioned other people's emergencies. Be specific. How are you going to change that around? And you don't need to fix it this week, but it gives you food for thought. By naming it, you can, and looking at what you can put into play, that can help you to sustain some of your energy. And the question I want you to sit with is how much of what you are carrying right now was never formally yours to carry, and that should give you some idea as to what you need to let go of. You We talk about roles and responsibilities. Give people back the activities that does not belong to you but belongs to them. Have those difficult conversations if needs be. And we're so used of picking other people's slack. If a team is struggling, we'll want to go and help them. If a project loses its lead, we want to absorb that and take that leadership role. We want to fill that gap. Now you need to identify, if you keep being the person that's always doing, always responding to the emergencies, then you're taking away from yourself. And no wonder you feel exhausted and tired. Then there's intention number three, which is how you want to feel by December. In the second half, you get specific about how you want to feel when you get to December. So remember, you committed to the 1 hour that you're going to give yourself time to see how and think through. It's thinking time of how you want to spend the next few months before the year ends. Now, this is where you become specific about how you want to feel when you get to December, not what you want to have achieved, how you want to feel. And then you use that as your compass. When a decision lands in August or October, or whatever it is, you ask, does this move me towards that feeling or away from it? So if you want to finish strong and something comes in, does it take you to the feeling that you want in December or away from it? And that's going to be your compass. So remember the message, the story that I told you about last year. The group of professionals mentioned the word survive, and that's how they felt. They wanted to survive. How about us changing the word this year? And we set it up right now for how we want to feel later down the year. When you're going through this thinking, what I'd like you to do is picture yourself in November. What is the one thing you need to stop doing? One thing you need to start protecting? And one thing you need to say out loud before July, the conversation you need to have so that with to put things right with whomever. Because when November comes, your word should not be survive. And then you need to determine what is standing between where you are now and that word, whatever that word is that you put out for yourself. What is standing between where you are now and that word of how we want to be come November, December? Has there been a moment recently where you put on a brave face when you were actually running on empty? Do you find you put on a face even though you are feeling at your worst, even though life is tough? Put it down into the chats because we tend to have a face we show to the world and an inner face where we go through what we're going through. Has there been a moment recently where you put on a brave face when actually you were running on empty? Did you take on things even though you know you don't have the bandwidth for it? And Kelisha says, yes, absolutely, I've done this. And I'd put out another question for you to think about, Kilisha, is why have you done this? Why do you take on more than you can? Is it a issue of saying I can't? Is saying no a problem? Do you feel judged if you say no, I can't do it? Where is it coming from? Because that additional pressure is where your energy gets depleted. Yesh says, for sure, this year has been tough, and I have definitely taken on more than I can handle. And that's where your audit comes into play. Yes, you audit where your energy goes. That's what you mentioned earlier, and where you have taken on more. Why have you taken on more? Is it possible to give back certain things to where it deserves to be? My question to you is, what is the one word you want to use instead of survive in November? What's that one feeling that you want to have by December? What's the one word that you want to use instead of survive in November? Please put that into the chat. And that word is going to keep you strong. When something doesn't serve you, remember the word that you to have want to feel by November, December. And survive is not going to be the word that we're using this year. We're going to be deliberate about it. Kelisha says achieved. That's what Kelisha put down. Yesh says progress. Progress. Okay. And that's also the words that you put down is achieved and progress. Notice as well the words that you put down. The words determine what we want by November, December. You want to feel as if you've achieved. Yesh wants to ensure there's progress. But I would also encourage you to think about the feeling. Come personally, come November, December, I want to feel whole. I want to feel as if I'm not running in different directions. I want to feel as if I didn't just barely get to the year. I arrived there as a whole person and not somebody was that felt the year, that went through. And yes, things will happen, but I need to give to myself so that I feel whole. So what is the feeling that you want to achieve by November, by December? I don't want to say happy because that's fleeting. I would So I would encourage you to think about the actual feeling when you take the 1 hour for yourself this week and you want to put down for the next whatever it is, 6 months or 5 months to the end of the year. What is it? How do you want to land this year? Okay, because we want to finish strong. This is towards the end of our life. Where's time gone to? Also, I would like you to think about in that 1 hour of introspection, I want you to think of one thing you are going to do differently starting this week. Don't say next week. Remember, you're in the driving seat of this life. How are you going to change it for yourself? This year is not done, but neither are we. We can change things for ourselves. And therefore, I thought this mid-year review is so important. I thought about doing things differently by posing questions to you that allows you to start reflecting on it and hopefully, and Yesh, I think, said it as well, to actually stick to the plan that you put out. Be realistic, be kind to yourself. Yes, you want to achieve, you want to progress, but also ensure that when you do it, it's not at the cost of your energy. Because if you deplete your energy, you're not going to be whole at the end of the year. You're going to be burnt out because tiredness, exhaustion leads to burnout. And thank you so much for joining me and participating in this very interactive live. I really appreciate your responses. I hope you enjoyed it. Is it something that, aside from enjoyed it, because I'm not here for entertainment, it's for you, it's for us to think, it's for us to get tips on how we can better live full lives, live a more calm life, irrespective of what we're going through in life or at our workplace. I hope this resonated with you. Thank you for showing up and being real with me today and for just participating. I love the responses, and be kind to yourself and give yourself time. Yeah, Kelisha says, yay, thanks for this live. I really am taking away a lot to think about from this live, and carve out that time to think. Give yourself that time. Join me every Monday and Friday for new videos. And as always, I go live on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. South African time. I'll see you next week. Always remember, you matter. And thanks. I'll see you next week. Bye for now.